So you've probably been to a bunch of live conferences, workshops, events, that sort of thing before, right? And there's a typical setup, right? They're usually pretty standard, right? You've got a hotel room or a room within a bigger building, chairs, tables, presentation, banners, the usual stuff, right? But what we've tried to do over the years is get better at improving the experience, right? So there's a lot of things that people expect when they go to conferences. They expect to see good speakers, they expect to be treated well, they expect the minimum, right? They expect their expectations to be met, right? In some respects, right? But they complain about the smallest things, right? So they don't complain usually about speakers and things like that. They'll complain about things like the comfort of the chairs or the air conditioning or perhaps the coffee, things like that. So there's a lot of things you have to consider. Things go wrong as well from time to time too. But there's a lot of things that you have to consider as part of the whole delegate experience to improve the experience. So you can do the bare minimum stuff, which is leverage a really great room and get away with doing very little actually in terms of the experience. But what we've done over time is try to improve that through learning both. Right? So I've learned a lot from attending conferences and events. I've learned a lot from being a speaker at events, and I've learned a lot from hosting my own events as well. So let's talk about this. I've got like maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 different things I want to share with you, just to give you an idea of how we approach it and how we're trying to get better every time we do something. Like a good example of this would be, we run workshops every now and again. Maybe every 3 or 4 months I'll do a workshop, and there maybe be something between 15 and 20 people will come along to that. It's about £100 per person. Now, it's pretty standard to go along to these things, and like I said, the standard expectations would be go in, there's a break, and then there's lunch, and then there's a break, and then we go home. And that sort of thing. But what we've done is we get like we get music on, and we have a bit of fun. We've got some basketball hoops there, and generally we just try to have a little bit of fun while we're there too, right? So we try and do different things. We give away books and competitions and stuff like that, even at small workshops. So there's things that you can do to make things a bit more fun for people and a bit more memorable for people, right? And just not just about what they're going to learn or what the speakers are going to share with them. So let's talk about a couple of the big things, right, that improve, I think, the delegate experience. I'd love to hear your experiences as well. If you've got any comments about or any stories that you want to share about the experiences you've had at events, and it'd be cool to hear those as well. So one of the most frustrating things that happened to me, I can remember this like it was yesterday, but it was a couple of years ago now. I was at a conference. It was an annual conference. It was in the summer, but it was raining, as it does in Scotland. And we went along there. I had a big jacket on, a scarf. I had a bag with my laptop in it. And I think I was carrying something else. I don't know why I had something else, but I had something in my hands anyway. And I got into the door, and it was really crowded, like really crowded. I walked in, and everyone was like kind of bottlenecked into this one area. So we're kind of wet, got all our stuff, and then I was handed a goodie bag. I had to register. As soon as I walked in, handed a goodie bag. So I've got this goodie bag on here, and then I met the conference organizer, and then it was just crammed. Like, I'm not kidding. I was like squeezing people, trying to get past people, and all that kind of stuff. And around, someone like knocked someone's coffee cup over, went all over their hand, all of that kind of stuff, right? So this is before I even got to dump any of my stuff, right? So the first thing I did was like, let's find a seat. So right through the crowd, find a seat, and then into the breakfast area for some bacon and sausage rolls and stuff like that. It was like the worst experience to have going in for the first time. It was just frustrating, and it was just like it wasn't a good experience, right? So what we've done with our conferences and events, we try to break all of that up a little bit more, right? So one of the conferences we did, we brought the registration table way in, right? So we let people come in, grab a seat, get their jacket off, get their bag, and then they can register, right? Registration's important for us, but it doesn't have to be as soon as they walk in the goddamn door. So we kind of moved everything back, and then for some of our other events, we try and stage it out a little bit as well, so they can even get into the room, dump their jacket and stuff like that before they even register. Like, what are the chances of someone hijacking your event? Why does registration need to be right at the door? It doesn't, right? So after that experience, it really got me thinking about how we could improve our journey through this, and I think we've done a couple of things to change that up and make it a little bit less frustrating. Like, for example, we had goodie bags at our conference last year. We didn't give them to people, we put them at the table. So it was easier for people to have to carry them around. And some people don't even like goodie bags, you know, so they think they're a waste of time. So the customer journey, as soon as they walk in, is really important to understand, right? That customer journey and how they feel along that path. Do they feel welcomed? I mean, the big thing is that people want to feel special, right? So we need to welcome them in, but they don't have to do everything at once. They don't have to be bombarded. One of the other things, so that's number one on the list, the customer journey. Number two is seating. Really interesting at an event. So depending on the size, depending on the size and the type of room that you have, this could change in how you do things. But if you've got a workshop, let's take a couple of examples. Let's take a workshop for 20 people and only 16 people turn up. One of the best things you can do there is remove the empty seats, because the room might feel like it's a little bit empty. So you can remove the seats from there and take them out of the room, remove the place settings. It gives everyone a little bit more room, but it also feels like the room is busy. The same with a larger event as well. So you've got an event for 200, like our conference, but maybe only 175 people turn up. You want to get rid of those 25 empty chairs as soon as possible into the event, so nobody feels like they're sitting next to an empty space. Okay, so it can make people feel like it's sold out, or it can look like it's a sold out event or a busy event, but it actually isn't. The other thing to do is, it depends, again, let's take another example. Imagine you are, the event that you're running is in a lecture theatre, right? So imagine there's like maybe 2 or 3 rows, you know, like in a lecture theatre, so maybe you've got like a central row and you've got 2 rows coming in here, and you can walk down the stairs, or you can walk in from each of these areas. And one of the best things you can do in that situation, I've been here many, many times, is you can get your people, your team, to manage the room better so that everybody's focused in on the front and center first, and then you can let people move back and spread out. And that's the best way to do it, instead of having people scattered throughout the whole place, making it feel like it's half empty, right? So you want to really manage the area, manage the seating, and you can do that in loads of different ways. And when your event starts, you want to get rid of empty seats as soon as possible. And think about the best setup. There's loads of ways to set up a room. Like I said, as a lecture theatre, you might not have much choice because the seating is fixed. But you can have round seats with everyone facing the front, or you can have classroom setup, right, which is tables of 2 or 3 set up in chunks or in larger rows. You see them at large conferences typically, or it might be just lecture. It might just be theatre style, which is just seating facing the front. Just depends. I mean, if you're doing a 2-day conference like ours, you want people to be comfortable. And we've went with round tables at ours with everyone facing the front, because people have their laptops. They're there for 2 days, of bags of stuff. So we want people to have space at the table. We don't want them feeling crammed in like sardines. We also want them to feel like it is busy and it is a sold out event and it feels good to be in there. There's an atmosphere. So that's really important. We'll talk about atmosphere next, actually. So the customer journey, seating's important as well. Another thing about the seats is that they're comfortable. They have to be comfortable if people are going to be sitting at them for a long time. But we're going to talk about how we get over that in a second. So just to break this up a little bit, actually, as well, I want to jump into the comments section here. Jump in with something that you hate, right? So you've been at a conference recently or a workshop or something in the past, and there's something really got on your nerve, something that was just horrible, bad experience, or just could have been done so much better. So what's that one thing that you remember? I'd love to hear what that is. Typically what people complain about is the coffee. Coffee sucks. The access to the speakers typically sucks. As a large event, you can't get anywhere near them. The seats are uncomfortable and they suck. The air conditioning sucks. The food sucks. The lighting sucks. All of that kind of stuff. It all sucks. So there's a lot of things you can do that can help to improve that customer experience. It doesn't even have to be like huge stuff, just all these little things. Can I get a drink of water, Cal? So, moving on. Atmosphere. Yes, this is a big one, by the way. Music. Have to have music at your live events. It's really, really important for a couple of different reasons. One is when people come into the room for the first time, you want to have an atmosphere there. One of the things that's annoyed me about being an event organizer in the past is when you get there, you're not even set up yet and people have arrived before you. What you want to do, and wherever you can, is stop people from getting into the room before you get there. Sometimes people run just a lot earlier than you do. You want to get it So there's only a few people there. If there's only a few people there, so I think I had a technical problem there. If there's only a few people there, it gets people talking a little bit louder and creates some atmosphere. The other great thing about music is that it's kind of like an auto cue, or it can work like an auto cue. For example, if music's quite loud, you can, if it's at a large event or a conference, you can increase the volume quite dramatically for everybody to kind of like take notice, like something's changed, and then cut it out. Like it goes super quiet right away. People know that it's like an auto cue that something is about to start, but without the music, it's really hard to do that. So having music at your live event can really lift the atmosphere, especially the type of music. So we usually have quite rocky music like Foo Fighters or Green Day or something like that, and it can really improve things and make the whole atmosphere much, much better. It just feels good. Just feels good. Okay, so music, again, atmosphere, all of that stuff. Again, it's all kind of works in with each other. All these things are related to each other. Having something, number 4 on my list is having a compere or an MC or someone to manage the whole event for you. So depending on the size of the event, like one of the things we do, for example, at our workshops, even our one-day workshop, is we have guest speakers. That can really change the dynamic of the day as well and make it so it's not just all about you and presenting workshops. It gives you time to have a break as well. And that's kind of like a side note to this one here, which is having someone that can look after the front of the house, someone that can look after your speakers, and someone that can make sure that everything runs to time up there. So, for example, I am the compere at our event, so I have to make sure that everything else is taken care of, that there's people doing their job, so that I can look after the speakers and introduce them, because usually I hand pick all the speakers, so I think it's important for me to make the introductions as well. But if you've got a different type of event, it's actually quite nice to have someone else take care of that for you. And there's professional compares out there and MCs that can do all of that. They'll do the research and they'll manage all of that for you. And it's quite nice to be able to not have to do that role and have someone else make sure that everything runs on time and that everyone's looked after and all their slides are working, all that kind of stuff, and make sure they're communicating with the AV team and blah, 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 right? So that's someone that can do all that for you. Number 5 is breaks, having lots of breaks. You want to be having a break at least every 90 minutes or so. I think that's enough time, especially in the morning. You've got to watch that. If people are traveling in, drinking coffee, etc., you want to make sure there's a comfort break in the morning quite early on, but make sure there's lots of breaks, and they're extended breaks too. Give people time to chat to each other, do a little bit of networking, get to know each other, that sort of thing. So have lots of breaks. Make sure they're well scheduled in advance, and that you give people time for them and don't squeeze their breaks, because they really enjoy that. It's a big part of the whole delegate experience at events and conferences is the breaks. It gives people a chance to talk to each other. One of the things that we did, my background is in catering. I used to run weddings for a lot of years, hundreds of them. And one of the things that they do at weddings, which I really liked, was they used to put things in the bathrooms and the toilets. So they put like a big stack of like boot polish, combs, chewing gum, paracetamol, all of that kind of stuff, right, in each of the bathrooms. Smelly stuff, cologne, deodorant, hair gel, whatever, right? Anything that could help people to be more comfortable, right? And if they're at an event for a whole day, then you've got to be conscious of people that perhaps they're a bit warm or sweaty or whatever, okay? And it just gives them a chance to feel less conscious about that and a bit more comfortable as well. So we stole that from weddings. So in each of the bathrooms, male and female, we'll put stuff in there to help people feel more comfortable. Everybody steals the cologne. It's just the thing. You just have to accept that. So if you're doing a 2-day event, you need to make sure you've got double the amount of stuff, because the stuff does go missing, which is fine. That's what it's there for. But putting stuff in the bathroom is really, in the toilets, is good. And it's like I said, it's one of those things I stole from weddings. The weddings also usually put flowers in the bathrooms and stuff like that as well to make the place look nice. So that's number 6 on the list. It's one of our secrets. And people usually think it's the venue that's done it, but it's us. Number 7 is room temperature, air conditioning. Now, it's a difficult one to measure, especially if you're the one running the event or you're working there. You feel a little bit warmer maybe than everybody else. But just look out for signals. People putting their scarves on, their jackets, taking their jackets off, etc. And just make sure you know exactly how to control the air conditioning in the room. 19, 20, 21 degrees, something like that. Make sure the room's well aired out before the event, things like that. It's always good. Depending on the type of venue you've got. So one year we changed our venue quite, not last minute, but it was all organised. It was on the website and everything. And we decided to cancel our arrangements with one venue and move to another one. And the reason was because there was no windows and it was very low ceiling. And we shouldn't have booked it in the first place, put it that way. And it was just it felt like it was going to be crammed. It was going to be like dull. Everyone was going to be like falling asleep in there. So what we decided to do was choose a venue that has like tons of windows. It's just beautiful, airy, high ceilings, bright, just a completely different experience entirely. It was like lifted the whole mood. So again, it wasn't just about room temperature, it was about the feeling within the room, higher ceilings, much more space, really bright. You could actually see the daylight as well, which is important. So I guess not just room temperature, but just the experience within the room. Number 8 is coffee, right? This is a big one. See, as a conference organizer, coffee is bloody expensive, right? Especially if you're doing 3 or 4 coffees over 2 days, right? That can cost 4, 5, 6 grand just for coffee for 200 people, right? Which is ridiculous, especially when it sucks. So one of the things to do is just think about that experience for people with coffee. Think about what they expect in terms of coffee, right? So we ran an event in Dundee. I didn't have a coffee there, but people were coming in with Starbucks and Costa coffees, which is what they expect. That's what people expect these days. So we have to not feel like we are in that we're being controlled by the venue's standards. It's your event. So make sure that the coffee's great, because that's what people expect these days. But also think of other refreshments. So think of like sparkling drinks, water. Make sure that there's pepper, teas, different herbal teas and things like that. It doesn't just have to be coffee. I've made that mistake before, just going all in on coffee, but actually people like other things too, even coffee and something else. So think about all the different refreshments that people have. One of the experience I remember actually early on, a conference I went to maybe 3 or 4 years ago, they had ice cream there. It was amazing. They had ice cream and ice cream lollies, like Calypsos and all those kind of retro things you used to have as a kid. Fabs. It was amazing. Having all of that stuff. So think about the little things you could do, even just getting a chest freezer in and just stacking it full of like ice creams. People will love that. So there's lots of things you can do in that area as well. And it's not just about like coffee as a refreshment, but other types of refreshments for people. Other stuff that we've done in the past as well, like I said, windows was a big one. Like making sure there's daylight coming into the room was a big deal. And it wasn't just like a hotel room in the middle of this massive complex hotel. We wanted something completely different. And that means getting out of a hotel, which goes against some of the advice that other people would tell you when they're running conferences, which is to have it in the hotel. So we went against that. We booked ours in the centre of Edinburgh. Edinburgh's a beautiful place, lots of really interesting places to stay. We did the exact opposite, which is not go to a hotel and get everyone dispersed across the city or in a small part of the city. I think it leads to different and better experiences. I don't even know what that says in my notes here. We had a book stall last year, which is another way to improve the experience, is to get people in and have a book provider there for you. We had Blackwell's there. They had, I don't know how many titles they had, probably 100 titles. People were buying like 13, 14 books, things like that. Again, it's another way to increase the customer experience and dramatically improve it for visitors and delegates. One of the things that really frustrates me, and you're probably the same as well, is when you get to the conference and the conference organizer kicks the event off and all they do is talk about themselves and the sponsors, right? Nobody cares. They're there, they're excited, they want to get started. Don't talk about yourself. Don't talk about your sponsors. The sponsors can wait. That can wait till another time entirely, right? Let's get started into the event. I think that's one of the things I feel like when I'm thinking about our events, I'm thinking about how do you feel about where you are and how can we help make sure that that is improved upon. So don't talk about yourself. Don't talk about your sponsors. That can all wait till later. That can even be on day 2 if you've got a second day, but it can certainly be in the afternoon session. You could do a little bit more of that. Just make people feel special about the event. Do little things. It's only like I'm talking about little things here, little changes, for things that you were probably spending money on anyway that you can do better, and things that don't even cost you any money, like the seating, the music. I mean, you might need a license, but it doesn't cost you any money really. The customer journey, just thinking about where you stage things, and making sure you've got the right help from the venue know exactly what you want to do. And I hope that gives you some ideas perhaps for your own events, but also gives you an idea of what it is that I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about running CME Live, which is on the 8th and 9th of June this year. If you're thinking about coming along, you haven't got your ticket yet, get your ticket. It's like 58 days or something like that to go to CME Live. We're selling a ticket every day. It's going to be a sellout. Check out cmelive.co.uk. Come along and join in the fun. It's a 2-day event. We've got 16 speakers. It's going to be awesome. All the greatest people in the world are going to be there. Come and make some friends with people. Enjoy it. Have a good time. And we're going to have lots of social stuff as well. I didn't even talk about social. Social's on the list as well. Better write that down. Lots of social activities. In fact, that's where people have a lot of their fun. That's where a lot of stories come from. So, hope that helps. If you've got any questions about anything, jump into the comments section. Email me, chris@cmauk.co.uk. Share this with your friends. If they're interested in events or interested in how we approach CME Live, let me know what's happening. And don't forget to be awesome.